Key Jalisco New Generation Cartel, commonly known as the CJNG, is a criminal organization that has left an important mark on the organized crime landscape in Mexico and beyond. Known for its brutality, economic power, and capacity for corruption, the CJNG has become one of the most feared and powerful cartels in the world. Its origin is related to the death of Ignacio Nacho Coronel, leader of Poster of Sinaloa, in 2010, which led to the fragmentation of his group and the creation of the CJNG. Since the early 2010s, cartels have emerged the Resistance and Jalisco New Generation after the arrest of Oscar Nava Valencia, nephew of Luis Valencia, leader of the Millennium Cartel. The CJNG, initially an ally of the Sinaloa cartel, became its armed arm in the fight against the Zetas in Veracruz. This conflict over control of drug trafficking routes and lucrative ports have resulted in episodes of extreme violence. The CJNG has maintained strategic alliances with groups such as the Queenies, who finance their operations. The Gonzalez Valencia brothers and the Colima cartel have been linked to this financial alliance. Throughout its history, the CJNG has adopted a justice discourse and has called itself the Mata Zetas. The group has dedicated itself to murdering people involved in kidnappings, extortion, and has attacked government officials. His conflict with the Mexican security forces and his violence have generated concern in the country. In addition, the CJNG has forged alliances with other cartels, such as Tijuana and Juarez, to expand its influence and compete with the Sinaloa cartel. The leader of the CJNG, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho, has faced internal threats from people seeking to succeed you in leadership, such as Sanchez, alias the Cholo, who has formed alliances with the Sinaloa cartel. Carlos Enrique. The CJNG has extended its activity beyond Mexican borders, with international drug trafficking operations. In August 2020, a large amount of CJNG cocaine in Colombia valued at millions of dollars, highlighting its global reach. Throughout its history, the CJNG has demonstrated a willingness to use extreme violence, including cold-blooded murder and acts of terrorism, to eliminate its rivals and enforce its dominance in areas under its influence. Furthermore, their ability to corrupt government officials and security forces has made their presence even more pernicious and difficult to eradicate. Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, is a powerful Mexican drug trafficker and leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel J NM Gos. It's one of the wanted criminals in Mexico and the United States, with a reward of $10 million for information leading to his arrest and conviction. He is wanted for drug trafficking, participation in organized crime, and illegal possession of firearms. Under the leadership of El Mencho, the CJNG has become one of the main criminal organizations in Mexico and one of the most dangerous. He has played a prominent role in the fight for control of drug trafficking in Mexico, competing with the Sinaloa cartel, which had previously been his ally and sponsor. He has also faced groups such as the Zetas and his surviving faction, the Northeast Poster, what has valid the nickname Los Mata Zetas. El Mencho is blamed for an escalation of violence against the military and police in several Mexican cities since 2015, and the CJNG is suspected of trafficking drugs not only in Mexico, but also in America, Asia, Europe, and Africa. His influence and the power of his organization make him a central figure in the organized crime landscape in Mexico and beyond. The recruitment of members by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho, leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, involves a variety of tactics and strategies. This includes searching for local recruits in areas where the cartel operates, often in economically disadvantaged regions. It may also use coercion and threats to force people to join, and sometimes offers jobs with low wages, higher than legal ones in the region. Young people are a common target, and family connections or friendships with existing members can also influence recruitment. Additionally, the cartel uses propaganda to glorify its lifestyle and power, attracting people in search of identity and belonging. Fabian Urbino Morales, the Clown. The Clown, whose real name is Fabian Urbino Morales, is a sinister character who operated in the region of Aguililla, Michoacán. What makes his story even more shocking is that before joining the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, where he earned the nickname El Payaso, he worked in a circus, entertaining children and families. However, his life took a dark turn when he became an alleged CJNG hitman, feared and respected in the region. But the clown was not alone in his sinister role. It turns out that he was one of several hitmen who were part of a cell known as established in Reynosa, which was a faction of the Meters, a criminal group Gulf cartel. It was in this context where the leader of the CJNG, Nemesio Oseguera, and his group recruited these hitmen due to the brutality with which they executed their rivals, including the use of gasoline drums to burn their enemies. Despite being part of this sinister cell, only Fabian Urbino Morales was transferred to Aguililla to carry out operations against the Michoacan family, while the rest of his group stayed in their place of origin. The clown received orders from the M2, and he is credited with his alleged participation in a devastating attack on police in which 13 officers died in October last year. However, his criminal career came to an end when he was arrested on January 20th in an operation led by state and federal forces. His capture joins that of 10 other people related to the CJNG in relation to the attack on the state police. It is important to note that the brutality of this group was not limited to El Payaso, since other members of the Meters performed equally terrible practices, such as removing skin on the faces of his enemies long before the man who worked in a circus arrived. Currently, it is believed that this criminal group continues to operate in Tamaulipas and possibly other states. Despite his dark past in the circus, Fabian Urbino Morales is currently behind bars, facing accusations for his alleged involvement in violent acts. More clowns. The individuals known as the Killer Clowns are hitmen linked to the sign Jalisco New Generation. In order to expand their presence, these criminals, they established collaborations with other armed groups, which resulted in the creation of the gang called the Meters. This cell had its roots in the Gulf cartel, and it operated mainly in Tamaulipas. The creation of the armed group known as Los Metros is attributed to Jose Eduardo Costilla Sanchez, alias the Cos. Costilla Sanchez was the main collaborator of Has Ociel Cardenas, the former leader of Gulf cartel. Been reported in the media premises that El Cos established this group with the purpose of weakening the influence of the family Cardenas Guillen in the organization. Consequently, he accepted the offer the associates of El Mencho did. It is important to highlight that Los Metros continued to receive directives from Hugo. Gonzalo Mendoza, recognized as Toad or the 90, held a position of high rank in the Jalisco New Generation cartel. A video was spread on social networks showing several heavily armed individuals hiding their faces behind clown masks, traveling in a van along the public roads of the municipality of Camargo, Tamaulipas. In the images, you can identify at least 5 armed individuals who are supposedly part of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. Surprisingly, these individuals perform this activity in broad daylight. In the video, the subjects listen to the song with the volume at maximum the frog of the group 360, while they consume beer and display various firearms, including at least 3 rifles. A notable aspect that deserves attention is the age of these individuals, which seems to range around 20 years. This fact highlights the worrying tendency of drug cartels to recruit young people, adolescents, and even children, seducing them with the promise of quick money and a supposed sense of power. Unfortunately, on many occasions, these recruits are considered disposable, and in some extreme cases, they are entrusted with suicidal missions. Recently, a disturbing video has emerged in which an alleged CJNG hitman, dressed as a clown, subjects a victim to an extremely violent act. It has been confirmed that this victim was kidnapped by CJNG hitmen under the command of El Payaso, who leads the cartel's headquarters in Aguililla. In the video, the victim is seen with clear signs of torture in an even more macabre way. The clown of CJNG proceeds to skin the person's face, apparently using a knife, while the victim is still alive. This cruel and bloodthirsty act sheds light on the brutality of this cartel leader. I Want Water. The video, I Want Water, was produced under the supervision of Fabian Morales, or possibly by his accomplices. In said video, individuals characterized as clowns belonging to the CJNG kidnap a member of a rival cartel. To date, the victim's identity remains unknown, but he was nicknamed Ghost Rider. At the beginning of the video, a distorted face shows a man inches from death, after the evil clowns had already torn off all the skin from his face and other parts of his body. But if this were not enough, they mock their victim, mocking, laughing at his pain. During the recording, the men keep asking him if he wants water, and the victim even begs for it, hence the macabre title of the video. In those moments, the man surely only thought about dying, but the clowns continued to mock him, keeping him alive as long as possible so that the suffering would be even greater. Just like in the movies, one of the victim's hitmen mocks. We can hear his voice, rough and weak, but this does not stop the clowns from ending their taunts. This video is a clear example of the terror that the CJNG seeks to impose in all areas where it operates. The brutality and cruelty displayed in these images are chilling and serve as a chilling warning to anyone who crosses the path of this criminal organization. The CJNG not only seeks to establish its supremacy in the world of drug trafficking, but also seeks to instill fear and submission in the population and in rival cartels. These acts of extreme violence are part of their strategy to consolidate their power and keep those who may oppose them at bay. Who was the M2? The clown's boss. Miguel Fernandez, also known as the M2, a former cartel boss, Jalisco Nueva Generación, CJNG in Michoacán, was arrested by federal forces in Tepalcatepec. This individual would have changed sides to join the Los Viagra cartel, also known as the New Michoacan Family, LNFM, which represents a betrayal of the CJNG leader, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho. The M2 became known on October 15th in connection with an attack on the police that resulted in the death of 13 officers and 9 injuries in Aguililla. At the time, he was still considered a lieutenant of the CJNG and was heard giving orders to the hitmen to carry out the attack and leaving narco messages at the crime scene, in which he threatened police officers who supported other local cartels. It was rumored that M2's betrayal of El Mencho was a significant blow to the CJNG, as he was a major figure in the criminal organization. In November 2019, videos circulated in which M2 appeared alongside hooded and armed hitmen, issuing threats to other cartels in an area known as Loma Caliente in Tierra Caliente, Michoacán. Its end, he M2, also known as Miguel Angel Fernandez, made the decision to leave the criminal organization led by El Mencho. The Attorney General's Office of the State of Michoacán confirmed that the body found on February 6th in Tepalcatepec belongs to Miguel Angel Fernandez, who was known in the world of drug trafficking as M2. The victim was identified like Miguel Angel F., known as M2. 40 years old, therefore, he was handed over to his relatives, who found out about the homicide through publications on social networks, reported the Attorney General's Office of the State of Michoacán in a statement. According to unofficial reports, LM2's death occurred during an armed confrontation with Mexican soldiers against hitmen from the criminal organization to which he used to belong. After M2's death, some residents of Aguililla, where the attack that led to the drug trafficker's death occurred, reported that Miguel Fernandez had sought help from the Viagras to escape the confrontation. However, none of the members of his criminal organization were able to rescue him due to the presence of a significant military contingent in the area, which included armed helicopters. In response to this situation, the Michoacán Prosecutor's Office has initiated an investigation and has opened an investigation folder to obtain more information about the circumstances surrounding the death of Miguel Angel Fernandez. In the case of the Clown, he was charged for his alleged participation in the armed attack that resulted in the death of 13 of the 14 police officers attacked. Fabian Urbino Morales is currently in custody and faces charges related to this incident. That is to say, he is imprisoned and it is highly unlikely that he will gain freedom due to his atrocious acts. For its part, El Mencho remains missing. Conclusion. Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, has generated great concern due to the brutality and cruelty that he exhibits in his videos and actions. These videos, which often feature scenes of extreme violence, torture, and murder, are used by the CJNG to send messages to rivals and the authorities, as well as to spread fear in society. The organization has earned a reputation as one of the most dangerous and bloodthirsty drug cartels in Mexico and beyond. Their leader, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho, he has been one of the most wanted criminals in both Mexico and the United States, and the CJNG have aggressively sought to expand their influence and territory. The videos and actions of the CJNG illustrate the ruthless and violent nature of this criminal group, which does not hesitate to use brutal tactics to achieve its objectives. These events are a grim reminder of the violence and conflict that persists in regions affected by drug trafficking in Mexico, as well as the need for continued efforts to combat these criminal organizations and promote security and justice in the region. We come to the end of this exciting story. If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to like it and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to activate the bell to stay up to date with the latest news. And of course, we'd love to hear your opinion in the comments. Let us know which of these stories impacted you the most, and if you have any other stories you would like us to explore in the future. See you in the next story.